Coming to you from the planet Venus. It's the Little Podcast of Horrors with James, Christina, and Chris.
Welcome to Little Podcast of Horrors. I'm
And,
James.
and these are your hosts. What he said. I'm Chris.
I'm Christina.
And together we're the Little Podcast of Horrors. Thank you for joining us and good night. Wait, hello.
So we got some merch now, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I ordered a wine glass.
I got a shirt. It's got our logo on it. I'm wearing it right now.
He is, guys. He never takes it off.
I never will.
He
I'm
never will.
committed to the show.
He's gonna be buried in that.
So do you want a shirt too? Do you want a mug? Or something to drink your beer in? Or something to drink your wine in even?
Well,
Podcast.
you've come to the right place.
And by that place, we mean
The Little
Podcast.
Podcast of Horrors.
.com. Littlepodcastofhorrors.com.
Yeah, what he
This is a
said.
shit show, dude. You're a mess.
Anything you buy supports the show. And God knows we need it.
Damn! Don't sound desperate. God knows we need it.
We are suffering.
We're standing
We're
on
on a
the
shoestring budget. That shoestring is snapping.
we're standing outside on the street corner doing it right now on our really nice microphones and computers. People are looking at us. It's weird.
So Tesla.
Back at it.
Wow. No gentleness.
Just
We are diving into the Tesla tickles. I mean, it's it. We're balls in all the way.
You already had the foreplay with part one. All
Now,
right.
yeah.
now we're gonna
Time
have,
to get to business.
Foreplay is over.
now we're gonna have that Tesla in and around our mouths.
Oh my god.
Not quite how I was going to put it.
That's why you got me, bud.
Well, you might have thought the last episode was a little tame.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking with the aliens that Nikola Tesla discovered and was communicating with.
Yeah,
Don't
totally
worry.
yeah, they're totally tuning in. Like this better be even much better than that tame last episode.
Oh, don't worry. It's gonna be. We've only just begun.
Oh,
And now we're
sorry.
gonna put that accelerator to the floor.
Shit's about to get real.
So I'm continuing pulling from my primary source, Tim R. Swartz's book, The Lost Journals of Nikola Tesla. And we will be interviewing the author in part 3 of this 3-part episode series. So, as I said in the last episode, I'm only covering parts of his book. And now that you know what the first episode was about, to be more specific, I'm only talking about the alien stuff from his book. His book goes into a lot more than just aliens. Like you're maybe getting half of what the book touches on here, and then like the Cliff Notes version of that. So if this interests you, I highly recommend buying the book because there is so much more to delve into in the book. Yeah, it's a smorgasbord of Tesla stuff. But we're gonna stay in the realm of aliens because that's what we like here. Is we like us some aliens.
Love them.
Nothing but
All
love
right.
for you, E.T. Call me.
So-
Please don't shoot holes in the ozone and give us skin cancer.
Yeah. Stop hating on us poor people.
So, I'm not going to give you much of a recap because you really should have listened to the previous of the part 1 episode if you haven't already, or you're going to be kind of lost. But we did talk about a bunch of Tesla's journals and notes and stuff were lost after his death because the government done stormed in and took it because the Nazis were using it to build some flying saucers. Ain't that something?
Nazi flying saucers.
Hold that thought. But anyway, we talked about that. What has come back around to release into the public eye, if only through this book, is stuff from his journals talking about listening to some alien conversations. There was inventions, there was doohickeys, if you will. That's what the whole episode was about.
There were doohickeys galore.
So now, with that, we're going to move on to the next part of Tesla's secret story. So, from Tesla's memoirs, beginning in 1919, Tesla writes about having visions so vivid, it's as if they appear before his very eyes. These visions were so vivid, in fact, that Tesla at times had trouble distinguishing visions from reality. This was like a serious thing he's dealing with.
Yeah.
So let's hear it from the man's mouth. To quote Tesla, I began to see visions of things that bore no resemblance to reality. It was as if I was being shown ideas of some cosmic mind, waiting to make real its conceptions. So in the beginning, Tesla tried to, and again, as I said last episode, Tesla was, he had a healthy amount of skepticism. He didn't just jump into, hey, I'm a crazy visions guy. That's not where he went with that. So at first, he tried to distract himself from the visions, but later in his life, he finally learned to embrace them, and he just leaned into them. And as he did so, he would eventually have elaborate nightly adventures inside his head. He would, in a sense, via these nightly visions, live another life, go to other cities, meet people, and actually form full, real relationships. All of this in his head.
It's like a multiverse thing. He's a dream walker.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a multiverse if the other universe was entirely in your cranium.
I was going to go with schizophrenia, but
That's a cop out, Chris.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go for the low hanging fruit right there. What kind of show do you think this is?
You're right.
Podcast of boring crap.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Anyway, he used these visions to invent things. He would at first build them in his inner realm, and it makes me think of like the whole Sherlock Holmes. What was it called? Mind Palace.
Oh yes, Mind Palace.
I think it's akin to that. But he would build his invention first inside his inner realm in his mind before he would do so in the real world. So, for example, his AC motor, that was concocted during his visions.
Wow.
In fact, he supposedly famously disliked drawing. He hated drawing. And it was because the best of his drawings were never as clear as any of his visions.
Mm-hmm.
And he could, as it turned out, he could store any design in his mind to be recalled years later. So he even regarded tests performed in his mind as equally valid as real tests performed in the real world. By doing so, this allowed him to make rapid developments without actually interacting with anything.
Okay.
So he would say that this process, this trust and performing tests in his mind instead of in reality, never failed him for 20 years.
That's impressive.
So to quote Tesla again, it became perfectly evident to me that I was merely an automation endowed with power of movement, responding to the stimuli of the sense organs and thinking and acting accordingly. It's getting some pretty wild abstract thoughts going on there, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
So he would go on to talk in his journals about this revelation he had, resulting in what he would call the arts of teleautomatics. Tele like the telephone, automatics like the automatic stuff.
Those automatic stuff. That stuff that's
Automatic. To quote Tesla again, I have been years planning self-controlled automata and believe that mechanisms can be produced which will act as if possessed of reason to a limited degree and will create a revolution in many commercial and industrial departments. Sounds like he was predicting AI to me.
Hmm.
Basically, yeah, automata, self-possessive reason. I mean, it's what we're trying to do with AI. I mean, right now we just have it doing really bad pictures, but we're aiming.
One day we'll do something better.
So having a healthy level of skepticism as he did, Tesla denied there being any paranormal or psychic phenomenon going on. He was having none of that. But instead, he was adamant that anybody who was making a claim that that's what was going on, that all such claims were debunkable. He was not a fan of going all paranormal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So he would only have a change of heart and become interested in spirituality late in his life. So he wrote about believing that it was possible at some point to create a device to display images and notes, basically display what's in your mind, like display it like up on the wall or something. Put it.
Okay, like
use a
project
projector
it from
to
your
show what's-
mind.
what to show your thoughts. Why did he think this was possible? Well, because he had at that point supposedly successfully transmitted his mental image into someone else's head in another room.
Okay, telepathically.
Yeah, he did himself with telepathy.
He did it.
So take a moment to speculate. Why do you think Tesla might had some of these visions? Not just visions, but visions that were so reliable and interactive that he could use them as inner laboratories.
The aliens put it there.
It's a good guess. So there's this book that Tim references in his book titled Return of the Dove, authored by a certain Margaret Storm, and it was privately printed. So Return of the Dove claims that once upon a time there was a spaceship flying from Venus, where it had originated from, to Earth. And a boy was born aboard that spaceship, inbound from Venus to Earth, on July 1856. That boy was called Nikola.
Oh,
No.
God. What?
Okay.
The ship landed midnight between July 9 and 10 in a remote mountain area of Croatia, and the child was placed in the care of Tesla's Earth parents. Now, if you know anything about Tesla's Earth parents, one of them was, my mind is now suddenly going fuzzy that I need to remember on the spot. I believe he was
From
like
Earth.
a priest or a monk or something. He was a clergy of some kind.
But he was from Earth.
He was from Earth, but
Is that-
as it turned out, he adopted the Venus child.
I shall take the Venus child and raise him as my own until he grows to be a man, and then he will share his gifts with mankind. By day, he will be a metropolitan scientist in his laboratory, fighting for truth, justice, and science.
I'm trying to remember the quotes. Like they will run after you. The whole
Oh, the Jor-El speech?
the Jor-El speech. Yes.
Oh, are you mean from Man of Steel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the child from this Venus spaceship was placed in the care of Tesla's Earth parents. How do we know this? Well, one hint was that even though he may now have been aware of it himself, Tesla once confided in a personal assistant that he often felt he was a stranger to this world, which of course meant he was an alien.
Oh yeah, naturally.
Of course.
Wait, though, was he really adopted? Like, is that official? Is that piece of it official that he's adopted?
That's not what they would have you believe.
Oh, okay.
Yes. They would have you believe that these human, normal people were the parents of basically a god.
Ridiculous.
Again, how do we know that Tesla was a Venetian? Is that what you would say? Is that what people
Sure.
from Venus are? Are they Venetians? Or is that French?
A
That's
Venetian
I don't know.
from Venice.
Or Venetian?
Was he really good with the ladies? He's from Venus, you know.
He's not even from Mars. He's from the wrong planet.
I'm just saying though, if he's from Venus and Venus was the goddess of love, so you know, they're all lovers
That's
on
not
his
a suave
planet.
guy.
I want to know, does he have dual citizenship? Does he have a Venus passport?
I never got the impression that Tesla himself even knew he was from Venus.
Quit
Oh,
quit humanizing this. We don't use passports on other planets. It's not like
So how
it's not like Mila Jovovich being like multipass.
Multipass.
So how do we know that Tesla was from Venus.
You just told us.
Well, Interstage writes the next major figure in our tale of Nikola Tesla, a man by the name of Arthur Matthews. The space people from Venus revealed all this to a certain Arthur H. Matthews of Quebec, Canada.
Which is like another planet.
I mean, yeah, more or less. So a certain Dr. Andrea Puharich, I can't pronounce that. Puharich. Anyway, this doctor lady interviewed Arthur for a publication called The Pyramid Guide, published May through August of 1978. This is how we first learned of Arthur. Arthur was an electrical engineer born in England. And fun fact, Arthur's dad was one of Lord Kelvin's lab assistants. You may remember Kelvin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's make sure. But after moving to Canada from England, Arthur's father set him up with Tesla, and Arthur would work with Tesla until Tesla's death. So Arthur claimed that Tesla entrusted him with many tasks, including the Tesla Interplanetary Communications Set that was first conceived in 1901. It is also, I think, referred to as the Tesla scope for short. So the Tesla Interplanetary Communication Set, aka Tesla scope, was used to talk with Mars. And Tesla built the first working model in 1918. So this kind of seems to coincide with the whole, alien transmission stuff going on in Colorado Springs that we talked about last week. So except now we're getting another side of the story from Arthur here, the lab assistant, if you will. So to quote Arthur directly, Arthur said that it's not generally known, but Tesla actually had 2 huge magnifying transmitters built in Canada. I operated one of them. People mostly know about the Colorado Springs transmitters and the unfinished one on Long Island. I saw the 2 Canadian transmitters. All the evidence is there.
Pictures of it, or
All the evidence is there?
like what?
Yes.
The evidence of the aliens, or were we?
The
what
towers.
Oh, just that.
Oh, just the towers exist.
That
Yes.
the tower,
They're
the
right
towers, the towers existing are evidence that the towers exist.
All I know is the evidence is there. Okay. And what I can't get out of my mind is I just want to believe that over in Quebec somewhere, or like Tesla had, this lab crew that was just all a bunch of like South Park Canadian characters. Like, hey guy, we're working for Tesla.
And then they fart on each other.
Isn't that they
Ew.
spend all day farting on each other? So, we're gonna talk to some aliens today, buddy.
You did that really well.
Have you been practicing?
I think he has.
Every morning in the mirror.
Hey, buddy. It's time to talk to some aliens. Okay, so Arthur, in turn, would write his own book entitled The Wall of Light, which includes a diagram of the Tesla scope. So, according to
Or in
Arthur,
short, the T-scope.
well, no, hold on. The Tesla scope is short for the Tesla Interplanetary Communication Set.
But if you want to go shorter, we could just call it the T-scope.
T-scope.
Hand me the T-scope, boy.
Hand me the T-scope, buddy.
Hand me the T-scope.
So, according to Arthur, and to quote him again, speak it to one end, and the signal goes out the other end as a cosmic ray emitter. So there is unfortunately a bit of a hiccup with this diagram in the book. According to Tim's book, commenting on Arthur's book, the diagrams don't make any electronic sense. And the device's existence has never been confirmed. So take that as you will.
So no pictures of these towers, like I asked.
We got diagrams. They don't make a lick of sense, but we got diagrams.
He's like, I drew these diagrams in crayon on the back of this IHOP menu. There's your
Wow.
proof. The evidence is there.
Maybe
Yeah,
we're just
IHOP
not
all the
smart
way
enough to
back
get
then.
it yet. So, though Tesla confided in Arthur about the aliens, Arthur was kept in the loop. He was one of the inside guys. Arthur, unlike his mentor Tesla, didn't view the aliens as so much of a threat. And Tim's book kind of makes a side mention of, to put in my own words, it probably didn't help that at this point in Arthur's life, it's now the 50s, the 1950s. And if you recall from way back in season 1, when we talked about our boy Ashtar, UFOs had exploded in popularity in the 50s. Everybody was all about the UFOs. And a lot of people at the time were seeking out friendly, enlightened aliens like our boy Ashtar, who was a cool dude who's with it.
Plus, I was just going to ask: was Arthur wealthy?
I don't know, but I didn't get that impression. I mean, he was the lab assistant.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was saying
Not
if he's got
not the
lots of
king of-
money,
Yeah, he's not the
could-
king of Canada.
just saying if he has lots of money, I could see why he likes the aliens. They don't
So
mean
that's-
me any harm.
He just figured, unlike Tesla, that the aliens are probably cool cats.
Yeah, if you're rich.
So let's take a pause from Arthur and jump to another topic of interest to us in particular: the Philadelphia experiment.
No.
We're doing some cross season
I know.
continuity stuff here
How
today.
the
folks.
hell do you do this? Well, I mean,
You thought
okay,
we were
okay.
done.
okay. I mean, the thing is, yeah, Tesla was involved with the Manhattan Project. So I mean, like, or for the
Whoa,
Philadelphia
whoa.
experiment, the
Hit
Philadelphia
the brakes,
experiment.
dude.
What?
The Manhattan Project?
Not the Manhattan Project, the Philadelphia experiment.
Yes,
I
thank you.
got confused, confuddled. Okay,
We're not dropping nukes here.
no.
We're making Navy ships disappear.
So I'm just saying, go ahead, continue.
All right. So, if you remember from our Philadelphia experiment episode, if you don't, go listen to it. We talked a lot about a certain dude by the name of Al Bielek. I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's been all this time later, and I still don't have the pronunciation down. Let's go with Bielek or Bielek. Man, listeners, I got homework for you. Littlepodcasthorrors@gmail.com. How do you pronounce it? Okay,
Is it
so
Bielek?
Probably. So Al Bielek from a Philadelphia experiment episode and Preston Nichols, they both claim, as we talked about in that episode, that Tesla was involved in the Philadelphia experiment. So according to Bielek, in 1931, a special team of scientists was formed, a group of super scientists, or super friends, if you will.
Super friends.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Science.
So this team, this special, crack team of scientists, included John Hutchinson, who was the dean of the University of Chicago, Dr. Emil Kurtenauer, an Austrian physicist, and our boy Tesla. This pre-Philadelphia experiment team, their mission was to investigate the possibility of demagnifying warships, which you may recall we talked about in that episode. But Tesla, he actually achieved partial invisibility under lab conditions. I am not going to go into that in depth because that's a whole nother tangent. And again, Tim's book goes there. So yeah, pick up Tim's book to get the deets. But anyway, suffice it to say, Tesla had it figured out. He knew how to at least achieve partial invisibility. Again, under lab conditions, so very controlled environment. So basically the way it goes down, and that you'll learn in Tim's book, is like Tesla learned how to do this via an accident that happened in 1895 while he was testing his unified theory. Again, if you go back to the Philadelphia experiment episode, unified theory is kind of a big deal. We get into some Einstein, we got some Tesla going. It's nobody's quite figured out that whole unified theory yet. Anyway, this accident left Tesla briefly seeing both the past and the future, and he was time displaced for a bit.
No way.
What?
So again, that is an entire chapter in Tim's book. I recommend you read it.
I had actually heard about this.
Wait, so where does this information come from again? Like, other than Tim's book, but like, where does he get it? Is it from his diaries?
Yeah,
Or
we're
his
getting
journals?
Tesla's secret journals, and then the various characters we've talked about, like the guy, our Canadian boy that we mentioned earlier, who was an assistant. So these figures that we covered, that are covered in Tim's book and the journals, what has been unearthed of them.
But the time displacement, that was from which one of those?
I'm not sure. I need to go back and look at that chapter.
Oh.
I just wanted to tease enough to give Tim a plug. So you don't just go through my episodes and go, well, I don't need Tim to read Tim's book now. Yeah, you do, because you want to learn about the invisibility, don't you?
I was trying to find his book, so
Tesla,
I'm gonna read it.
So Tesla, alien communicator, partially turns invisible, and time traveler.
Yeah, he was a busy guy. So anyway, the project is later moved to Princeton's Institute of Advanced Studies and named Project Rainbow. Rainbow, because it's all about invisibility. So this is moved to Princeton in 1936.
So they go from being the Justice League to the Care Bears.
Aww.
And at this point, once it moves to Princeton, Tesla becomes the project director. And now Tesla, as project director, requested and received a Navy battleship to test on. Yep. The first test, and again, for all the deets, listen to our Philadelphia experiment episode, but the first test was in 1940, and it was deemed a success when the ship and the crew vanished. The ship had 2 large Tesla coils, aka electromagnets, on each hull, both of which were powerful enough to warp gravity. But the problem was, and the problem was confirmed if you go back and listen to the episode, that Tesla started having doubts. He began to doubt the safety of the experiment after he had a chat with some aliens about it.
Was this also after the ship disappeared and came back and people were stuck in the walls?
This is before.
Oh, okay.
Tesla's starting to put out a warning sign that, I think we're about to have a problem here.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm going to quote Bialik. So according to Bialik, Tesla had a press announcement in 1923 where he stated he was talking with ETs off planet. Now, after he retired from RCA, he maintained a laboratory in his living quarters at the Hotel New Yorker. Unknown to most people, he had a second laboratory, if you will, which apparently was his main one on top of the Waldorf Astoria on the top floor and both penthouse towers. He maintained a transmitter set up on the Waldorf and his receiving setup. His receiving antennas and receivers, which had been built by RCA under his direction, were on the New Yorker. And I know 2 people who said they were working with Tesla during that period, that he was using that equipment. He was talking with somebody virtually every day. And one of them was emphatic. It was someone off planet. In plain language, he was communicating with ETs.
Ooh.
That's out of Bialik's mouth. So after having his alien chat, Tesla concluded that anyone entering the ship while the Gauss coils were turned on would be damaged by electromagnetic radiation within this reality. So his talks with the aliens confirmed this problem.
Now, if you happen to be in a different reality, you might be fine. But if you're here, your ass is going into those walls.
So Bialik also said that Tesla was also concerned with his equipment warping time and space with dire consequences for the ship's occupants.
Oh.
But the Navy had a war and wanted results. Tesla resigned in March of 1942. The Navy ignored his concerns, and we already know what followed.
People
if you
in walls.
don't know, we got an episode about it.
That's right.
So just to line all this up on a nice happy timeline, the infamous experiment occurred in somewhere August of 1943, which was a few months following Tesla's death that previous January. So, who wants to know about Nazi flying saucers?
Oh, me.
I do.
Oh, good. And guess what we're about to learn about?
Fascist flying saucers. Oh boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, oh boy.
By 1947, flying saucer sightings were everywhere. But the thing was, with all these reports flying about all over the media, various scientists and workers who survived the recent World War II recognized them. They were similar to top secret aircraft they had made for the Nazis.
Oh shit.
Wild Nazi science is hardly news, right?
Yeah.
They were working on atomic bombs. They were working on orbital missiles. They were doing sonic weapons, death rays, etc., etc.
And they were trying to steal the Ark of the Covenant,
Exactly.
but
And
Indiana
they got
Jones stopped them.
claymated as a result
They got claymated.
to death. So remember from the previous episode, I mentioned that the Nazis stole some of Tesla's research that we later got back via Project Paperclip. So it's no secret today, looking back, that there were various and sundry Nazi spies planted throughout New York City. In fact, fun fact, 6 months before World War II even started, the FBI arrested 33 German spies. Some, in fact, allege that Tesla's business associate, one George H. Scherf Sr., stole papers to sell to the Germans from Tesla. So as we go into this next little subtopic, I want to note that elsewhere in Tim's book, he has an entire chapter on Nikola Tesla's anti-gravity tech.
Sweet.
So it's outside the scope of us talking about Tesla and aliens, so I'm not going there, but read the book. Tim's got you covered if you want to learn about what Tesla is doing in anti-gravity. I only mention that because the Nazis were sure interested in it. So I'm going to quote Tesla again, this time via the New York Herald Tribune, dated October 15, 1911. Per Tesla, the flying machine of the future, my flying machine, will be heavier than air, but it will not be an aeroplane. It will have no wings. It will be substantial, solid, stable. You might see it on the ground and you would never guess that was a flying machine. Yet it will be able to move at will through the air in any direction with perfect safety at higher speeds than have yet been reached, regardless of weather and oblivious of holes in the air or downward currents. It can remain absolutely stationary in the air, even in a wind, for a great length of time. Its lifting power will not depend on any such delicate devices as the bird has to employ, but upon positive mechanical action. The application of this principle will give the world a flying machine unlike anything that has ever been suggested before. It will have no planes, no screw propellers or devices of any kind hitherto used. It will be small and compact, excessively swift, and, above all, perfectly safe in the greatest storm. It can be built of any size and can carry any weight that may be desired. So basically, to put really smart concepts into really brief, dumb words, Tesla's model flying aircraft consisted of a rotating magnetic field, a blade-less turbine, because you think of airplane turbines having little blade, no blades, and high voltage coils. So we got this basically a ship that lifts via magnetism and Tesla coils. Like how
That is so cool.
Yeah, how steampunk is that?
Man, I want one of those.
Don't worry, the Nazis had it.
Great.
So just a quick aside about this tech, it used what was called electro-propulsive technology.
Electro poo poo.
No, electro-propulsive technology, which would be a great techno group name, right? Electro-propulsive. So this was part of Tesla's larger, broader dynamic theory of gravity, which he completed sometime between 1893 and 1894. It was never published. Why? It's still classified by the US. That's why. But they classified it a little too late because the Germans stole the information on it as early as 1934. Oops a doodle. Should have classified it faster.
Yep.
Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, but unfortunately for the Nazis, there were a lot of gaps in information because Tesla knew what he needed. Remember, because of the visions, he stored stuff in his head. He didn't have time to make notes. He hated drawings. But he knew what he needed in his head, and he worked too fast for his assistants to be able to note everything down themselves. So given those gaps in the notes, the Nazis were left to figure out the rest. which meant that their first tests were of crude prototypes, and they didn't have any modicum of success until near the end of the war.
Good.
So let's talk about the Nazi flying discs.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm about to say a lot of words I'm never going to know how to pronounce. Get ready. Here they come.
We're ready.
Flugkapitän Rudolf Schreiber invented the Flugkressel.
No.
Yeah, I know what that is.
He's just got to like this little killer blue cliptitude in the poo.
Hey, remember when we said we didn't want to piss off Germans in the last episode?
I'll go
Let's
with that.
just admit we're Americans who are horrible with other languages and leave it at that.
We are very horrible
We
at other
really are.
languages.
But anyway, the Flugkressel basically means flight gyro. Okay. That's one guy's one invention. Next is Victor Schauberger developed the repulsor in English motor, which was a colloidal disc motor utilizing air and water a motor that utilized air and water to produce a vortex to levitate the aircraft. I'm telling you, it's a ship that levitates via tornadoes, okay? Little
That
bitty
is
tornado.
so cool.
So get ready. I'm about to drop the bomb on you. Here's the best freaking part. BMW developed the Flugelrad, meaning disc fan, a central body housing two pilots covered by a hemispheric dome surrounded by a disc blade motor. Okay, so basically they built a BMW flying saucer. Now for
Yeah.
you guys, I posted a picture in our private chat, and for the rest of y'all listeners, we will post it on Instagram because you
Mhm.
gotta see this. But yeah, that little Nazi flying saucer you're looking at, it's BMW. It's a freaking BMW. BMW
That's
flying
crazy.
saucer. I
It's the-
bet
It's the BMW of the Jetson era.
I bet they flew like rude jerks. They were speeding, cutting everyone off, flipping the finger. You know, BMW drivers. Like the BMW flying saucers, just man, I can't even. I don't
Yeah.
want to shit in the air with those guys.
And when they parked, they didn't pay the meter.
Yeah, and then the Office of Alien Property has to haul them off.
Yep. And then, yep, that's it.
BMW flying saucers is what I'm here for. Okay, I am a happier man knowing that this exists. Moving on, Bruno Schweintreit patented the Mieth Shriver disc, aka Mystery Secret Weapon V7.
Okay. Yeah.
I really just mentioned that because I really wanted to say Mystery Secret Weapon V7.
As you would.
Then in April 17, 1944, the Mieth, short for Mieth Shriver that I just mentioned, this little flying saucer flew over the Baltic, and the Nazi SS reported the test success to Hitler. We get this thing to just soar over the Baltic, not a small accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
You can't throw a frisbee that.
Mm-mm.
Maybe
About a year later, in February 19 of 1945, the flying saucer, quote unquote, flew near Prague, hitting 1,300 miles per hour and attaining 45,000 feet altitude in 2 minutes.
Oh.
By comparison, and I love this, by comparison, the BMW could barely lift off, was unstable, and had suffered a ton of hard landings.
Yeah.
Luxury cars, am I right?
Of course.
BMW, it doesn't really work.
Our dad used to call it big money wasted.
And look, I don't want to piss off all the BMWs of the world, owners of the world. I like BMW cars. I used to own a Lexus myself, and we have our own reputation. Like, you just got to live with it. But anyway, according to another book entitled Hunt for 0 Point by the author Nick Cook, the 415th Night Fighter Squadron reported Foo Fighters, which was the lingo of the day for UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
They reported Foo Fighters in 1944 within a triangle area over southern Germany. So like draw a triangle over a certain area of southern Germany. So that triangle included Frankfurt am Main, Metz, and Strasbourg. So, German Major Rudolf Lusar, in his book, German Secret Weapons of World War II, he talked about in that book finding another book. Okay, so sorry about the bookception here. Tim's book mentions Lusar's book that mentions Lusar finding another book inside of the Imperial War Museum, which described the great scientific achievements of, quote unquote, a small, industrious, and honest nation which lost the war.
Okay.
Wow.
Or Germany.
Oh.
You small little industrious nation bullied by the world. Anyway, the reason that book is worth mentioning is because it mentioned various German quote unquote wonder weapon. According to Lusar, this is quoting the German major. Experts and collaborators in this work confirm that the first projects called flying discs were undertaken in 1941. So now we have a German major, weighing in saying, yeah, we did it. So, in fact, a secret test platform was built near Wenceslas in Poland, and it was used to test applications of Tesla's dynamic theory of gravity and Einstein's unified field theory. So that's the story of the Nazi flying saucers, guys.
That's crazy.
And the BMW flying saucer, which is now my favorite thing in the whole world.
The shitty BMW flying saucer that doesn't really work and has hard landings. That was some big money wasted indeed.
All right, so let's wrap the story of Tesla and his legacy up with the Nazi bell.
I'm not touching this. Nope.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
So the Nazi bell was a particular Nazi flying saucer of note. This one consisted of two counter-rotating cylindrical containers, 1 meter in diameter, one of them above the other, filled with cryogenically cooled and frozen mercury metal. I'm just telling you the science of how the Nazi bell did its thing. I don't know what any of that means. I'm sure somebody does.
Over my head.
Anyway, a frozen core of a metallic paste served as a high permeability material for the electromagnetic gravitational field. So all of them fancy words to say this is another, it's a bell-shaped flying saucer that could do some electromagnetism to lift off the ground, okay, and do some crazy stuff. The problem was it consumed a ton of electricity, which was a problem that Tesla had been aware of when he wrote about this technology to begin with. It could only be run for 1 to 2 minutes because its radiation killed several scientists.
Oh my God.
Rendered various plants and animals into decomposed blackish goo within a few minutes or hours.
Okay, who wants to test the Nazi bell?
Oh my God.
You may
So
or may not
aggressive.
become black goo.
This is one bell you don't want to ring. Others, I guess, who survived this experience, others reported a metallic taste in their mouth, including Tesla when he was doing his own experiments. So if you
blood?
don't turn into black goo, you might taste some metal. Just FYI.
There's
Wow.
like a whole range there.
Yeah, that's just like, you might have some slight metallic taste on your tongue. You might turn into goo. We don't know. You know, it's the flip of a coin. Either way, it gets in the bell.
Okay, so unfortunately, everyone who saw or worked on the bell were murdered by the Nazi SS near the war's end.
Damn.
Or they turn into goo.
Or the ones that weren't
Or
turned into
that.
black goo.
Yeah.
So our tale of Nazi flying saucers, based on Nikola Tesla's research, ends here. The bell, with all its turning people into goo effects, was taken from Poland, after which it disappeared from history. Some think that perhaps it was taken to secret Nazi base 211 in Antarctica.
I was just thinking of Antarctica. That's where it is.
For the love of God, don't turn it on.
Oh, yeah, right.
But even if you do, you're only going to get like however far it could take you in 2 minutes
Yeah.
before it runs out of
20
gas.
feet.
And turns you into venom, basically.
So there ends our secret tale of Tesla's life.
Nikola Tesla.
Or does it?
It doesn't, because if you read the rest of Tim's book, there's a lot more.
Yes,
I'm getting that book.
I am also getting that book.
Tesla was a busy man,
Right?
and had a lot of odd things going on.
This guy like lived the sci-fi life. Like I can see why in the last episode that one dude thought, this sounds like a sci-fi writer to me. I mean, he's freaking
Yeah.
from Venus and fucking
I can see that.
flying saucers and time traveling shit, and he's just there's the Men in Black in my living room.
Hmm.
Men are from Mars, Tesla's from Venus.
I guess so. And the BMW UFOs don't fly for shit.
And getting parts for it is very expensive.
Oh my
I
gosh.
imagine BMW doesn't want anyone to know about that part of their history.
Yeah. Somewhere there's a BMW exec listening to our podcast. Silence them now.
No, what's funny is there have been recent, there's folks that have successfully built flying cars, not in the sense that you want to think Back to the Future style, but something that both drives on ground and flies in the air, albeit not the prettiest thing in the world, but those are things that exist. And it so happens one of the prototypes that's been built is powered by a BMW engine, so the legacy lives on.
The legacy lives on. Big money wasted.
So that's part 2, folks. Part
All right.
3, we're going to talk to the author himself.
Tune in.
Yay!
Tune in next week. Same little podcast of horror time. Same little podcast of horror channel.
Thank you for listening to Little Podcast of Horrors. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. Got a true tale of the unexplained? Send us an email at littlepodcasthorrors@gmail.com or visit our website at littlepodcastofhorrors.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, join our Patreon. For $2 a month, you get access to our private Discord server where we chat, game, and you'll get access to episode extras. Don't want to commit to a monthly subscription? Make a one-time donation through Spotify or buy us a coffee. All donations keep the lights on for the show and help us fund future on-location visits to haunted places. Links are in the episode description. Want to learn witchy stuff? Take a course with Bearbridge Academy. You can also hire a witch or psychic at the Otso Salon. Be sure to use code LittlePodcast for 20% off Bearbridge courses and Otso services. Thanks for listening, my loves. Bye.